Hello, Facebook. Welcome to Friday. It is April the 17th. I don't even know how that happened. We've been in lockdown for so long, I don't even know how many days it's been. But the corona makes its way around still. I just got my new t-shirt from the Sojourner fundraiser, Namaste Away. These are now available through our Teespring account at the Sojourner Tees. This one's called Namaste Away COVID-19, and I got mine in the mail along with some of the other ones that we've got up on our store. Looking good, definitely good quality stuff, all cotton. Hey Jenny! So we've been testing out some of the new swag. I have to say it's very comfortable. They did arrive strong of the scent of ink, and so they needed to be washed right away. So I'll say it washed very well. It seems to be pretty soft and durable. I like mine. So this is one that I actually got my son to do the graphics for me, but that's the Hand of Hamsa, which is the protection, and the eye in it, that's the protection from the evil eye, protecting from witches, which is just hilarious. Yay! So Jenny, the Sojo rainbow one, that we also got one of those. I'd show it, but I gave it to Lainey to wear when she's working. But yeah, it looked really good. It looked really good. We got the tank top specifically, and I like the way the print turned out. So it's good. It's a lot of fun. Very proud. Very rainbow pride. So the questions that I was going to answer tonight, and I don't have a whole lot planned. I did want to make sure there was always some sort of demo in these things. So I'm going to demo the thing that I am asked to do the most. Hey Allison, nice to see you here. It's a silly thing to demo, but it is apparently my most valuable skill. Of all the things I do at the Sojourner, there's just, Courtney can do it. She's pretty magic too. But there is a magical skill that one has to have to run a metaphysical store or a new age shop. And that's called the metaphysical knot. When you get these necklaces on one of these leather or leather-like cords, you want to do a slip knot, right? So you can get it over your head, but then you can make it shorter or longer depending. It's a very specific knot, and once you figure it out, you'll never forget. But figuring it out that first time apparently is just the struggle. And so whenever we lace up a new pendant or something like that at the store, we'll get a lot of those little, like crystal points, and we'll go ahead and put them on the black leather necklace cord. And then everybody wants us to do one of the little slip knots. That's not the right word for them. An expandable knot. Anyway, I call it the metaphysical knot. And because you have to have the skill if you're going to do a metaphysical store. So just real quick, and this is sort of silly, I'll grant you, but I'm going to demonstrate how to do this knot, and I'm going to tilt the camera so you can see it. Okay. Here we go. All right. This is your cord, right? Divided in half. I use a yard of the black cord. Whatever sort of pendant you want on there. This happens to be one of our silver cages with a stone in it that I like to wear. I fold it in half so there's a little loop. Sorry, a loop there. Put it in the bail. Then I open the loop and I grab both of the ends and I tighten it down. Now that's going to just sit at the bottom of this cord, right? All right, I got to be able to see. All right. So you've got two ends of this thing. You have to make a simple knot around each side without interfering. So basically, here's how I do it. I pretend like this is a fence post. Yeah? This is the fence post. And this is the bunny rabbit. And the bunny rabbit is going to go around the fence post. And then he goes up over the hill. Underneath a root. Underneath the next string. down into the hole, so that basically this is just the fence post, and I've tied a simple regular knot around it with this one side. Pull that tight. You have to pull them pretty tight. Get them to stay. Okay, other side. Now I'm going to switch sides. This is the fence post from before. Now this is the fence post. Here's the fence post. Bunny rabbit. He runs around the fence post. Down under a tree root. You got to go under it. Over the root. Down the hole. Now if I can grab the end of that with the fence post, you'll see there's just a regular knot around it. Pull that tight. Pull it really tight both sides. If you pull the strings, it makes it really big. If you pull the tabs, it makes it shorter and it doubles it up. But because you put the little loop in the end here, put it through the bail, it won't ever slide around on you. And then I trim the little tabs so they're short. Anyway, basically you're just having to tie a simple knot with one string around each side, and then you're done. Hopefully that clarifies this issue. I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I have done that in demo for other people at the store. And it doesn't seem to always stick, so these are the mysteries, people. These are the mysteries of witchcraft. So I'll put that on. Anyway, so that was my little demo for the day. The question I was going to answer, well, first of all, just a little update. So, you're welcome, Jenny. It's one of the silliest things that I know how to do, and yet it seems to be the most valuable. All right, well, so just as an update, some good news. Well, first, good news and bad news. So we've been waiting to hear from the Small Business Association for the 2 different loans that we applied for that have been available to any business that was affected by the pandemic closures. So the first one was from the SBA, the Small Business Association, and it was called the EIDL loan, EIDL. And it's a disaster relief loan that's meant for, just quick emergency money to get it in your account fast. And I don't even know how they come up with how much they'll give you. I think it's based on your annual sales or annual income. But anyway, I had applied for that immediately, and it was weird. I never heard a thing back from them, but I did know that it would take 2 to 3 weeks to get a result. And then the Paycheck Protection Plan came around from the CARES Act, and that took a little bit longer for all the lending institutions to set up. But just the minute that my bank said, okay, you can apply, I did. And that's like a loan. It's not, it's a loan. It's like a grant, the Paycheck Protection one was, so that if you paid your employees with it, if you used it for payroll, if you used it for rent and other, necessities, it was basically forgiven. So we were really hoping for that Paycheck Protection loan. And I'm sorry to say that all the money was gone before they got to us. At least that's what we understand at this time, that if we hadn't gotten it already, we're not going to get it. But this morning I did wake up to find that there was a small amount of money in the account for that I imagine was just the regular SBA EIDL loan. So we have a little something to tide us over, and that's happy news. So the other news is that we reopened the store on Wednesday to be able to do just, call in, handle it over the phone. Then when you got to the store, we could run it out to the curb. It has been pretty funny, though, to see how many people were unaware that there's a pandemic or that the state said people should close, because folks have been pulling on the door handle very confused as to why we'd be doing all these things. So just wanted to let y'all know that we're still really happy to help you. We know that it's difficult to know even what we have, to buy. But there are things that our regular customers just really need, like maybe they're out of tea or they're out of a smudge blend or something like that. And so they already know what they want. And so you can just call us, get you all set up. So that's been working pretty well this week. And if it's any indication to how the mental health of this city is going, the number one purchase thing has been our CBD from hemp products, which are great for anxiety and depression. So wow, they've been flying out the door. So thank you to everyone who has made a purchase over the phone or has emailed that to orders@thesojo.com. We'll get you straight. So our hours now are Wednesday through Saturday, 12 to 6, and we'll handle things for you then, and then be ready for you to come pick it up. We can also do some limited shipping by USPS because that's the way we're going to support the post office. All right, so the question I was going to answer today, I posed the question on the event this afternoon, and a very fine question came back from Alan asking, how does one find the pagan/witchcraft community? What is the etiquette for finding your way into, if you wanted to attend a conference or a pagan festival or even approach a coven for a potential training and membership? How does one go about that? And the asker said they've long been a solitary practitioner, but they just wanted to know what do they need to know to seek out, find, and then make a happy entrance into pagandom. Well, these are very fine questions, and I have a long history of funny stories for that. This is going to take a little something. Hold on. So my first bit of advice, and it's funny because I went and even pulled my copy of the long form Wiccan Read by Lady Gwen Thompson, or at least attributed to her, that I felt like had some nuggets. Among them was this line, which I think is the best way on how should we find community and how should we interact with each other. And that was the line, merry meet, merry part, bright the cheeks, warm the heart. It seems a simple and silly line, but what it's trying to say is, if you greet people warmly and friendly and happily, and you depart from people in a warm, friendly, happy way, you will have a happy countenance. Your cheeks will be bright and your heart will be warm. People will like you better if you're nice. So that's my first bit of advice. But really, it's a lot more complicated than that. How does one even find the community? So conferences, depending on the conference, you just sign up. I especially am looking forward to and hoping that Mystic South is able to proceed as planned the second or third week of July. I believe it's the 16th, 17th, 18th, something like that, in Atlanta. It's a hotel conference. You basically just register for the conference, get yourself a hotel room, show up at the front desk, get your badge, and then on you go. They'll tell you what the classes are and when all the meetups are. My suggestion to you there is to just be as outgoing as you know how to be. Introduce yourself to people, broach the subject, engage in conversation. If you're in a conference setting and there's a speaker on a time limit, don't interrupt them. To witch-splain to them or to give them your alternate opinion while you're there, but asking questions is great, especially at the time allotted, most likely at the end, or if it's just a quick clarification, you can totally do that in the middle. Alan, I hope you can go to Mystic South too. We got a lot of cool lady witches I know going already, as long as that happens. I'm all scheduled to teach 2 classes, and I know another, the High Priestess of our Coven right now, Epona Petra, is going to be teaching her class on stable magic, with working with horses. So we got that going too. Anyway, so you've already got a built-in posse if you show up with us or want to be there with us. But otherwise, I think just being friendly, being outgoing, bathing. Every ritual thing, you should show up clean, freshly clean. And I know that seems silly, but it's just ritual etiquette. If I were to go be preparing for a magical ritual, especially in coven setting, I would begin with physical bathing and then I would do spiritual bathing. And I know that seems a strange thing to say, but quite often in cons, it just seems like that's not a consideration. So I put that out there. For festivals, the same kind of thing. Depending on the pagan festival, really it's just a matter of being friendly and paying your way, volunteering if you can, being trustworthy and pleasant, and just introducing yourself and making yourself available to people. those are pretty easy, I would say. If you're trying to work your way into introducing people, getting the introduction to people, especially if you'd like to do more, form more personal friendships and get to know teaching groups, for example, would be to show up at wherever, the festival, the conference, and sign up to be part of the volunteer staff. That way you get to know people, you have a job and a role to fulfill, you're giving back to the event and contributing your own energy. It gives a lot of opportunities to interact and is so appreciated. I've run these kinds of things for a long time, or helped to run these sorts of events for a long time. And what can be very grating on the organizers of any event, whether it be a conference, a festival, a coven, Sabbath, anything, is if someone, especially someone you don't particularly know, shows up complaining and demanding that things be set to their way, or as if they're asking for concierge service. That's just not how we do. We're an interconnected body, all of us, nature, the divine, as individuals. We each have our role to play. Of course, we're all there to interact with each other with mutual respect and love. But demanding or being bitchy or even complaining, because there's a constructive way to ask for something to be different, and then there's a bitchy complaining way to whine about how something didn't meet your expectations when you weren't even trying to contribute, and that is so irritating. Let's just say those are the people that are not particularly wanted to to become a seeker of your coven, if you just think they're going to be there to grouch at you about how it's not quite right all the time. If they're there to make suggestions on how they can contribute to making it better, brilliant, perfect, come on in the door. So I think that merry meet, merry part thing really goes into that. Hey, Linda Kay. So those are some of the first things off the top of my head. The way that we are meant to engage with each other in witchcraft, they're called the 2 keys to the temple, and they are perfect love and perfect trust. Perfect in this case means it's whole and complete. That means that it's no parts are missing. Everyone has their light and their shadow. Everyone has their good days and their bad days. We all show up with our baggage, and we all show up with our talents and our skills. And so we appreciate that we're all complete people, and we engage each other in a namaste way, right? Namaste. It's from Hindi or Hinduism. But what that word namaste means is the spirit in me honors the spirit in you. It's like saying, I know that you're a goddess in the same way that I'm a goddess. You're a god in the same way that I'm a god, incarnate here on earth with all of our foibles and all of our contributions. And we're going to hold each other in that light of love and general acceptance until proven otherwise, right? And the perfect trust is to say that my trustworthiness is complete. That you can trust me to do the right thing no matter what. So when I say I enter into a temple and I enter into a magical experience with someone, whether it just be a conference or a festival or a Sabbath or an Esbat, whatever it may, or class, if I enter in perfect love and perfect trust, that means that I accept that you're complete. I bring my complete self. That I am trustworthy in that we may not necessarily be the best of friends. It doesn't mean perfect means unconditional. It means that I will never be your enemy. And we can each promise to uphold our own ethical standards. It doesn't mean that everyone there is just assumed to be 100% trustworthy necessarily. It's not unconditional relationships. You still have to use your gut intuition. But as long as you are promising that you will be a trustworthy person while you're there, then there's no reason why that door shouldn't remain open to you, whatever the situation may be, and a good experience to follow. So those are some ideas there. How we worked these out in the Sojo Circle, over all these years, we ended up having what I'd like to share tonight, which is the 4 rules of witchcraft, is what I call them. 4 rules of witchcraft for personal sovereignty. And these are meant to be kind of a joke. I mean, they're serious, but they're meant to be pithy and memorable and jokey. And they developed, along with a lot of the principles in the Wiccan Rede, on how we engage with each other and what our standards are for, engaging once we're in any kind of space together. The first one was don't burn the witch. It started one night when one of our students was backing up to take a photograph of an altar before we began the ritual, and there was a tiki torch behind him, and he had long hair, and the wind was blowing, and he almost lit his hair on fire, and I'm like, whoa, wait, you're going to catch your own fire. I was like, remember, the first rule of witch school is don't burn the witch. And then we started thinking about how that really does encapsulate the ideas of perfect love and perfect trust, and that includes you, and really when we mean witch, we mean everybody, and the interconnected web of existence. So, don't burn the witch would mean give yourself a break, love yourself, accept yourself, understand that you are a complex, multidimensional being. You're not always going to be on your A game. We all have things we came here to work on, to evolve. That's our sacred mission. So, we're all just doing the best we can. You accept that about yourself, you accept that about other people. And when other people's, for whatever reason, may fall short of what is necessary for maintaining healthy boundaries between the two of you, you will at least try to help them get back in good graces with you, right? You will help to negotiate that boundary in a healthy, constructive way. You won't just start lashing people to posts and burning them in the town square just because you don't like how they looked at you or something like that. So there's that. Don't burn the witch, first rule. There's a lot of witch burning in our society, in our witch communities, I'm sorry to say. Very sorry to say. Which leads me to say also, if you're looking for community for the first time, as much as I will preach this from the mountaintops for the rest of my life, that witchcraft, if it is the witchcraft that I know and love anyway, what it should be, is a highly ethical, highly responsible tradition, and that the people who take up that work have taken vows to be the sort of sovereign, responsible person who would be able to enter into that social contract of perfect love and perfect trust with you. That they would have it in their entire ethical framework, that they wouldn't be there to hurt you or anybody else, perhaps constructively mold an egregious wrongdoer into the path of righteousness again. I'm not saying that we're a bunch of, turn the other cheek white lighters, far from it, but we're not there to hurt anybody. We're not going to be vengeful. We're not going to do any of the burn the witch stuff. There should never be gossiping behind people's backs and any of that sort of thing. But unfortunately, not everyone who comes to witchcraft gatherings and poses as a witch, or even says, and even maybe thinks that they are a witch, they don't always have that same mindset. And so, I would ask everyone to use your discernment. If something feels hinky, listen to your gut. And so, of the things that I was thinking about on etiquette, because the question was posed, what would be the etiquette of joining, gatherings? So other than merry meet and being friendly, I would remind everyone that if you make an assumption, it makes an ass of you and me, and that there is literally nothing you can assume about a group or a gathering. You need to really ask the questions, look at their mission statement, look at the event description, be very clear on what it is and who they are. But you cannot just go in assuming things. So some funny stories. I once ended up at a fireside after a brilliant Samhain held at Hearns Haven down near New Bern. And it was a brilliant Samhain where Peter Patton, author and cunning man, traditional witch, had come from California. It was a brilliant Samhain. Now Samhain's got all the imagery of of death and honoring the ancestors and even going to the underworld and all of that. But it was all these the mythos of Persephone and Hades and let's just say that in the entire thing, there was not one mention, not one iota of mention of anything of an Abrahamic flavor. No devil, no Lucifer. Not that those things couldn't pop up somewhere at a witchcraft event, but they just happened to not be at anything there. And I ended up at the fire later sitting next to a couple of very fine young men who were clearly servicemen who were taking a little jaunt for the weekend to try to find something interesting to do. And the one fellow looks over at me after passing me a giant horn of mead, which was very nice of him. And he goes, "So, what brings you to this event?" And I said, "Well, I'm a member of the witchcraft community, and I was here to do some vending today, and I practice witchcraft." "Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. So, what got you into Satanism?" is what he asked me. And I'm like, "No, I don't practice Satanism." And he goes, "Huh?" Because he assumed witchcraft equaled Satanism because he just didn't know. And he had attended that entire ritual, still somehow seeing Satanism and all, and I don't even know how. I guess that goes to the power of belief, that you will see what you believe you're going to see, even if the evidence is to the contrary. But anyway, I was like, "So were you here looking for Satanism?" And he said, "Yeah, are you familiar with the writings of Anton LaVey?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. You have not found that today. That is not what you have found here." And he goes, "Oh, that's too bad, but this is really cool. I like this." Anyway, we ended up passing that mead hoard around. They were very fine fellows, and they were very helpful later when I needed to get a friend of mine who was quite intoxicated back safely away from the fire back to their tent. They would help me carry my drunken friends. So, nice fellows. They made an assumption. They didn't ask that question first. They had just found it online, showed up. Still no problem there, but funny. Other assumptions you shouldn't make. You may have heard that many witchcraft covens operate, do their rituals what we call skyclad, or in the nude. This is a true thing. This is very, very rarely done in an outer court or in a community setting. This is almost always just in a private ceremony or just in the private coven members only. People who've already worked their way into perfect love and trust and awareness of each other, and mutual respect and all that has already been established before such things would happen. So don't just show up at a public event and strip your clothes off. Don't do that. You need to ask if it's a skyclad or a robed event. If it's public and they're letting random people in and they're skyclad, I'd say that that is a red flag, and perhaps you might not want to attend that one so much right off the bat, because that's a little unusual. Also, don't assume that this thing is going to be a drunken, drug-doing, debaucherous rebel. Not necessarily. That's not to say that these things, we have any kind of puritanical mores about those sorts of things necessarily. But if you're especially in a public event, please do not show up 12 sheets to the wind, drunk and high. Don't show up peddling illicit substances at a group where you don't know anybody yet. Just, you gotta test those waters and know people before you do any of that. That will get you kicked off of any decent site, especially conferences, which will have all the rules and regs all listed out, and they always say no to those sorts of things. Insurance reasons. And if you are in a public festival, likely there will be very specific rules laid out, and so you need to find out what those are. And if that public festival does not list those kinds of rules, red flag. Be very careful. Ask those questions. Another pet peeve I'm going to say is when people expect for the pagan and or witchcraft community to deliver a tailor-made spiritual experience absolutely free of charge. That's not to say that we need to be peddling religion like selling indulgences in the Catholic Church, but these things cost money. The rent of the space, there's always supplies to be paid for, there is always expenses, and the thing that bothers me is when people expect other people to pay their way. There's almost always at every event a scholarship program, sliding scale sometimes. If you truly do not have the cash money, you got to start thinking about resources way more than just cash money. Almost every event that I can think of will allow you to do volunteer work in lieu of the entrance fee. So put your keys to where your values lie. Say, I have something of value to contribute, even if it's not coin money. But just showing up and going, but church is free. I'll tell you what, it is not free. That donation plate goes around, and yeah, sure, there may be the doors open, come on in, but those ministers are paid, those buildings have mortgages, there's a light bill to pay, those little nasty styrofoam wafer crackers and wine, they cost money too. There's no such thing as a free lunch. If you do volunteer as a condition of your entry, by God, show up and do a great job and show them your quality. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had folks give me a hard time about charging a small flat fee to cover an event entry fee. And then I say, okay, well, I'm going to count on you as a volunteer. Please be here at this time. We're going to do these things. And then they don't show up. They show up later. They have a big hootenanny of a time. And when I'm about to go and collar them to help with cleanup or something, they somehow elude me and get out again. Let me tell you what, they will never be welcome at another one of my events if they make that deal with me and then they break that contract with me. So don't assume that there's going to be they're awful. What's wrong with those styrofoam wafer crackers, Alan? I would like to know. I think Jesus is rolling in his grave somewhere going, See, the goddess, she provides chocolate chip cookies. That's how we know the gods love us, is chocolate and delicious baked goods upon our altar cakes. None of those nasty styrofoam crackers. Ugh. Anyway, it all costs money. And if you expect other people to pay your way entirely without any kind of compensation, some kind of exchange. It needs to be an energy exchange is what I'm saying. And nobody wants to deal with an entitled person who thinks that they should just be handed something. So work for it is what I'm saying. Also, sex, very important. Witchcraft and paganism in general is sex affirming. We're body affirming. We're radically inclusive. There should, at any decent pagan or witchcraft event, and I'm not saying that they're all decent. I do have pointed opinions about some folks who are not like this. So again, no assumptions. But for the most part, you can assume that by going to a pagan or witchcraft event, that there will be the whole rainbow of fruit flavors of every type of person, every type of gender and sexual orientation and sexual proclivity and style. We are not Puritans. However, when you're in a group setting, you got to show some discretion, especially if there's children present. Please show some discretion. We can be affirming, and we can also show some discretion in how we approach those sorts of things. So please don't just show up assuming it's an orgy and without any kind of spiritual engagement or understanding of what sort of contract and what sort of magic that entails, which is very serious and extremely sacred and not to be taken lightly. Just go, oh, well, I'm here to leer at the young girls. Right? Please don't do that. Or whatever. Sometimes our events are held skyclad. That's not necessarily even they're just at nudist retreats. Clothing is optional. Just look at the description. If clothing is optional, no problem. If they say please wear clothes, please wear clothes. That's really just the thing I wanted to say there. So radically inclusive. You can assume that you will see every kind of person there, and they should all be treated with respect and given the free reign to show as their form of worship for the goddess. All forms of love and pleasure are her rituals. Sing, dance, make music, and love, all in my praise. So there will be those things, but just don't make assumptions about what other people are going to engage you in. That is still a contract you have to earn fair and square. So just other things I wanted to mention about how one engages. Remember I said we had 4 rules of witchcraft. The first one was don't burn the witch. That's you, that's other people. In other words, be nice. Merry meet, merry part, bright the cheeks, warm the heart. The next one is don't be the asshole. My favorite. In every situation where there is strife or there is discord, disharmony, somebody's being the asshole. And I don't mean this is a permanent condition, like this is your character. Sometimes we inadvertently play that role. Maybe we're having a bad day, like I said. But what I would consider assholery is any violation of one's sense of divine love, right? If we've violated their boundaries in some way, including security and privacy, if we've somehow denied other people of the resources they need to survive and thrive, you know what I'm saying? We don't purposefully try to be the asshole to somebody. So that to me is that contract of perfect trust. I can be trustworthy that even if you're having a bad day, that I won't be an asshole to you. And I would like to hope that even if I'm having a bad day, let's say, I'm prone to having a bad day myself. Let's say in my frustration or anxiety or stress or something, I snap. And you're like, well, that was an asshole move. I would hope that you'd be able to go, hey, that wasn't necessary. What's that all about? And then we can apologize and get through it. So don't be the asshole was the second one. The third one is don't be the weak link. If we're in an interconnected tapestry of everybody working together and my sphere of influence and how I impact and the effects that I can create through what I cause and how that's touching everybody else's sphere of effect, and we are each sovereign being, we're in charge of ourselves, we can be responsible for ourselves and how we interact in the world, and we know we're an interconnected web of beings, right, with the cosmos, with nature, with everything in our sphere. I'm not going to burn the witch. I'm not going to burn me. I'm not going to burn you. I'm not going to be the asshole where I start poisoning the well water we are all drinking from. I don't start somehow damaging in a way that bleeds over into your sphere. To me, that is someone who's being the weak link. It's like chainmail. Have you ever seen chainmail? Chainmail's amazing. Little tiny, very pliable metal rings that are hooked together just so, where they interconnect above and below and all around and up and down. And so chainmail is extremely strong because of the way it is woven together. The little individual links are pliable, they're flexible, they're able to adapt. But together, they're very strong. They're much stronger together. So to me, if someone becomes the weak link, it's when they start acting from their own little ego. They start projecting their bullshit, their assholery out onto other people. And it's usually just fear. Fear of a lack of love. It all starts with love to me. They're fearful, oh, I'm not going to get my bit, or I'm not going to get my share, or I'm not going to be respected, or I'm not going to whatever. They're fear of something that's a divine love condition. They're fearful of someone else being the asshole to them first, and so they're like projecting that out on other people. If you start to hurt the environment around you, basically, we're all sleeping in this bed together. Please don't shit this bed. That's being the weak link. So to me, when we come back to all of these ideas of how does one enter into the pagan community, what if you just want to show up at an event? How do you find a way to work your way into more intimate spiritual training groups or working covens, for example? How does one go about that? Well, be a strong link. You're in charge of you. You're here to do your bit. You're sovereign. You're doing the best you can. You're contributing the best you can in good faith that we have a mutual boundary respecting relationship here. Don't be the weak link. The most important one, though, is must be present to win. This is the fourth one. And I'm here to tell you that these were delivered like little hot messages straight from Hermes one Mabon day back in 2014 in like a dream trance-like state. It was awesome. It was like a direct download from divinity. And I'm telling you, when the gods talk to me, they've got a very funny sense of humor. It actually was presented as don't be the weak link and must be present to win. So to me, this goes back to very old witchcraft lore, which as it was passed to me through the oral tradition, through the teachers, the elder teachers ahead of me, was that in the old days, of course, when witchcraft was so underground, everybody was fearful about getting caught, that secrecy and discretion were of prime importance. For one, you never used your real name, you never outed another witch, you had to show discretion, not to reveal the identity of the other people in the community, those kinds of things. So let's say you want to get in on this, you just have an awakening, the catalyst fire ignites within you, and you just know you're a witch, and you just know they're there, and you've had that witch flame ignite, as they say, when you were around a person and you just know they know the thing you need, and maybe you don't even know what to call that, but you're like, that person has an answer, I need it from them, and I want to learn from that person. The idea is that you had to petition them 3 times before they could even admit they were a witch or that they knew what you were talking about. So I go knock on the door, knock, knock, knock. Hey, you are fascinating. I really want to know what it is you know. Can you teach me what it is you're doing here in the garden at midnight on a full moon? I'd really like to know. I don't know what you're talking about. Shut the door in your face. The idea was that you were supposed to be so dogged in your determination and so sure that that is where you needed to be and that's who you needed to talk to, that you would be willing to keep trying 3 times before they could even admit that that's what they do. So that's the legend, which I think goes back to some of those chants like thrice I knocked on the old one's door, that kind of thing, or the dark one's door. Anyway, knocking 3 times, asking 3 times has become part of that lore. So in a lot of covens now, so we don't have quite all that secrecy and all that anymore, obviously. There still will be a 3-step process usually, where you're being vetted, where you're being interviewed, where you're being asked what your intentions are. Maybe there are social settings, maybe they're just a plain old interview setting in a coffee shop or something. We also do that in the Sojo circle. There's a seeker meeting where we kind of give everybody the lay of the land. And if you come to the seeker meeting and you want to start our classes, usually the seeker meeting's the first week in December, and we start our classes the very first Thursday of the year, or backed up appropriate number of weeks from Imbolc, which is the first weekend of February. And so if you come to that seeker meeting and we're like, here's who we are and what we offer, and obviously you've come going, I would like to seek more information, we sign you up. At the end of that first 6 weeks, though, we have a seeker interview where we sit down and we want to know what you think. Who are you? How has this impacted you? We ask some questions of you. We see how it is that what we offer, does it fit your needs? What are you looking for? Can we provide it? But moreover, what are we looking for in a student? And we decide whether or not that's going to be a good fit. Sometimes the answer is no. Very rarely, it is very clear that that answer is no. But we take that as a sacred responsibility very carefully to make sure that what we offer is what they're needing and they're prepared for it and can handle it, and vice versa. We try to be very honest with what it is we're offering. So the seeker meeting is the first time, but we make them say what it is they want. It's a way of saying, I'm going to step up in this world. I'm going to put my keister where my desire lies, right? I'm going to show up, and I'm going to have the courage to ask. So I think that's a great piece of advice for anyone who's seeking training or wants to show up at any of these things and begin to become known and integrate into the pagan or the witching community, is to be willing to show up, to do so with that pleasant, I'm here to contribute. I'm not here just to be a leech off of you. I am here to contribute what I know, and then in exchange for this experience together. So, must be present to win. In our program, at the end of the first 6, so it's 3 sessions later, so 12 more weeks later, 3 months later, we have a dedicant interview. We ask the same questions. We ask that person to let us know where they're at, what are they doing in their progress, how are we jiving together, what can we give each other, or what can we contribute to each other. And we decide again, are we ready to move forward in this relationship as teachers, as students, so forth. But we make them ask. I want to be trained. Please continue. I would like to continue to show up. And then we, yay or nay. Almost always it is yay. And then again, at the end of our year and a day training program, we have the graduate interview. Same thing. You've been there for a year and a day. What do you want to do? There is never, in our group, and this is, I think, part of an important thing to keep an idea of what's a red flag, right? For weirdness. At every single moment, your choice is to go or to stay. There's never anyone that's going to obligate you to stay or to try to coerce you in any way. In good witchcraft, real witchcraft, there should never be any kind of implicit obligation where your free will is no longer taken into consideration. And if at any time you go like, I did the whole year, and I'm glad I did, or I'm sorry I did, but either way I don't want to move forward, we still say depart in peace. But if you would like to continue towards an initiation, you have to continue to keep asking for that. You just keep knocking on that door. Of course, ours is a self-initiatory tradition. You can initiate anytime you want to. We are not your keepers, and neither are we the gatekeeper either. To that is always available to anyone at any time. But those who would like to do so in a very knowledgeable and prepared way, go through our program. So that's how we do it in our coven, and it is not unusual, as far as I know. Every coven I've ever talked to has a very intensive, at least 3 meetings in advance vetting process. Then you have to attend a certain number of Sabbats in advance to even continue on. There's classes, there's whatever. In our group, you start at the beginning of the training program just like everyone else does, and that means everyone. We have actually had a 2nd degree priestess in a initiatory Wiccan tradition out of Maryland who was very accomplished, had way good credentials. But we had established that if you wanted to practice with our coven, you started at the beginning of the Seeker program and you took our classes, and this was not a problem to this particular witch. She was like, nope, I'm here for it. She signed right up. She showed up. She was an excellent student. What's interesting is that different traditions teach different things. They have a different theology. You have no idea. You cannot assume anything about a group unless you ask them explicitly. There is no assumption. Just because someone says they're a witch doesn't mean anything, except maybe they're into magic and maybe their magic is based in nature. But even that can sometimes not always be exactly 100%. There's almost nothing you can assume. So you have to find out specifically for each group and decide whether or not their ethical structure is in alignment with your needs and goals and your ethical structure, and what does what they provide, is it going to meet your needs? And it takes time. So you just must be present to win. Moreover, especially if there's ever an issue or a conflict, or you have to be willing to show up. In our group, we take a vow. For a member of our coven, you take a vow every year at Emil. Can you renew that vow every time? And it says, I will uphold the charter. I will harm none. I will operate in perfect love and perfect trust, and I will honor the sovereignty of every member here, including our guests. And in our charter, there are dispute resolution measures. So if you've got an issue, there is a way to resolve it. There is no, that person is, the high priest, and so they're beyond reproach, la la la. No, that's cult thinking. If anyone's got an issue, there is a way to have that mediated. But you have to show up. If you've got a grievance with someone or the group or anything, and you just rage quit and don't tell anybody why, you are the weak link. You're burning yourself at the stake. You're burning them at the stake. You are the weak link. You are definitely being the asshole if you go forth into the world and bitch about them to anyone who will listen, having never given them the opportunity to answer to your concern, right? Moreover, change will never happen if you just rage quit and leave out the back door. Must be present to win. So if you've got a grievance, you got to show up in person and talk about it. And then allow a mediator to help work through that. If ever it gets to the point where there can be no resolution, peace be with you, right? But at least you try. So that's that's something that we put in our group to try to make sure that we could provide a safe and responsible learning environment where we were doing the best we could for each student, meeting them where they were at. There's not a one-size-fits-all thing to this, so it takes a big investment, with a training group and an individual witch, and we're committed to that. But there is a mutual exchange that goes on there. So those are some of my ideas there. Other things I would say, if you want to show up to any pagan or witchcraft community event and just have an instant entree to talk to people, to be warmly greeted, is potluck, baby. Show up with something good to eat, because our feasts are the best. Remember, the charge of the goddess says, as a form of worship, we are going to drink the good wine to the old gods, and we're going to sing and dance and make love all as praise. We're going to eat the good food, and we're going to enjoy being in our physical bodies, or we're there to enjoy and to share that, and we share as generously as we take. So the pagan potluck is probably my favorite part. The one thing I will though say about that is that when you show up to a pagan potluck, mark whatever you brought. Mark whatever you brought so that people know what's in it. Because, everyone's got different food. Lasagna. Everybody, bring Jennifer Lantigua's number one way to get in good with any group is bring a lasagna. So definitely. But even if you don't cook, if you just stop by the store and you get some good snackage and show up, or if it is an event, like I said, you can't really assume about alcohol, but for the most part, a bottle of wine is great. But sometimes that's not allowed. Don't get your knickers in a twist if we're like, I'm sorry, there's no alcohol allowed on this site. For example, when we rent out the Masonic Hall, very cool place. Excellent place to do high ceremonial imulk. Or we do a Mabin where we spread the big table out, and normally we would drink wine, but they just have a no alcohol policy. So we can't be quite so luscious at those events. But anyway, yeah, drink the good wine to the old gods, Bo. That's actually in our liturgy. I should probably even just read that. Wouldn't that be a good idea? I could read the Witch's Creed for everyone so that you know what is our creed and what are you getting into. So good. So Alan's a kitchen witch. I would like to invite you to be my guest at any of our group meetups for Sabbats or whatever, once we can finally get out of lockdown and actually do proper witchcraft together as a group. All right, so my suggestion though about marking what you bring to potluck, and this is I'm going to say this is just a point of, maybe it's a point of contention, maybe we can all avoid a point of contention. Everyone has different dietary requirements. You can't assume that everyone is going to eat the same way you eat. So when you show up to a potluck, make sure that you've brought what you can eat. If you have special dietary requirements, gluten-free, I'm vegan, I'm dairy-free, I can't have tree nuts, can't eat peanuts, that kind of thing. So mark it. You don't have to make you can't make everybody at a potluck bring food that everyone can eat. We'd all be sitting there eating those awful styrofoam Jesus crackers. Awful. So just mark it, right? This is beef chili, whatever. No problem. You don't have to make an apology for why everything isn't vegan and dairy free and whatever. Just say what it is. If there's tree nuts in it, say it, But if you're the person with the sensitive diet, please do not come in and be all bent out of shape, because not every single person at the potluck complied with your dietary needs. If you're going to go off in a huff and cry on the back stoop, or act all moody and broody and resentful because somebody put bell peppers in the chili that they cooked at home in a crock pot and then set on the counter because you're allergic to the smell of bell peppers, they aren't the problem, you are. And I'm sorry, but that's just how that is. We can ask best we can for people to mark clearly, but then after that, it's a group. meeting. So, please. What did Jenny say? So yes, as a non-dairy folks, really do appreciate knowing what's in the food. We don't need to accidentally poison anybody. Let me tell you what, if an ambulance shows up to carry someone away from the Sabbath, I think you missed something. You missed your mark on something. Whether that be accidental slicing and dicing people with mock sword play in the battle or whatever. We really try not to poison any of our folks. We got a lot of folks in our coven that have tree nut allergies, for example, and so just marking, because see, the vegan folks might put cashews in their sauce, but then it might kill the tree nut people. So if you just mark it, it's all okay. So that's my idea there. So I've already gone over time, but I wanted to tell you guys a very funny story of what not to do. And this is a story that I've thought, how could I write this in a blog? Because it's freaking hilarious, and I just can't even believe it. But it would not do without me being able to tell you live. So, years ago, well, when I was first teaching the witchcraft courses, first couple of years, they were still pretty open door. There wasn't really a coven yet. It wasn't really an outer court mystery school as much as it was a series of classes anybody could take to prepare themselves to be a solitary practitioner. That's what they were at first. Which meant every Thursday the door was open, the subject was announced, you could just pay for an individual class or whatever, which meant that we had a lot of just random people come and go. It was really early on. And I was also teaching just like the one class deals at ECU and Pitt Community College, and God, I even went to Craven Community College one time to teach just an individual class on Intro to Paganism, or what is modern witchcraft. And they would, people that, the religion professors that would have other clergy people come in to talk about their faith. All right, so I had done that. And then usually those classes had a semester-long assignment where the students were asked to attend the ritual ceremony of a tradition they were not. So then they had to write a paper about the experience, a cultural immersion experience. So a lot of people, when they found out that a Wiccan / witchcraft / metaphysical experience was possible, they would all show up. Now, I got to the point where I had to offer a special night where I would do a special meditative journey in a very specially designed ritual for just them, right? Because there were so many of them. And I would do several throughout the semester, but inevitably there would be a student to wait to the very last minute. And one day at the shop, which happens to have been on a Thursday, when the moon was full that night, and I, knowing that the project was soon due in 3 days, I had put a special event for that night. I was like, we're going to make this not just a class, I'm going to do an entire Esbat. And I'm going to demonstrate the entire Wiccan full moon ceremonial Esbat style for anyone who wants to come, including, and among them were folks who had long been graduated and initiated, who were also kind of coming. It's sort of our proto-coven at the time, right? So we were going to go do that, and we were welcoming strangers to come and basically be part of this specialized, where we designed it just for the fact that there would be strangers there. All right, so a girl calls me at the shop on Thursday, a few days before this thing is due. And it goes a little bit like this, and I promise I am not exaggerating. Sojourner, this is Michelle. How can I help you? Oh, hi. I'm a student in Dr. Mercer's religion class, and I really want to do my project, my immersion project. I want to do it on Wicca with you. Can I do that with you for my project? Sure. As a matter of fact, you have called on the perfect day, because tonight at 6, we're going to have a full moon ritual in the Wiccan style made especially for students like you. Come on by. At 6 o'clock, we'll get started. Oh no. You see, 6 o'clock won't work for me at all. And plus, I don't really like to drive at night. Night's not good for me. Can we do it next Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? I'm available next Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The full moon is tonight. Tonight is the night. Tonight is the night we meet. It is the event that you are welcome to attend. There is nothing next Tuesday. That is not a time where our group meets for anything like a religious service. Oh, but that's not good for me. Oh, and another thing, I'm a Muslim. And because I'm a Muslim, I'm not allowed to, she said, no, because I'm a Muslim, when I come to your ceremony, you're not allowed to call on any spirits or any other deities other than Allah, because I'm a Muslim and that would be against my religion. This is witchcraft. Witchcraft is an entirely other religion that does not typically involve Allah. Perhaps you should choose one of the Abrahamic religions. There's so many Christian churches around here. And I know there's a Jewish temple. And I know that they're open to students who want to do this. And that would at least be the same deity and wouldn't be against your religion to attend a ceremony, I assume, because it's basically the same deity. No, it's not. But anyway, I really wanted to do Wicca because Christianity is boring. Well, I tend to agree, which is why I left Christianity and why I'm a witch. But I'm here to tell you we will be calling on deities that are not Allah. And we will be invoking the spirits of our ancestors and spirits of place and so forth and so on. So I'm not really sure we can help you because, just so you know, the Quran is very specific in the dim view that it has of witchcraft. Bummer! That's just no good. Are you sure you won't do something for me at 2 o'clock on Tuesday? Are you asking that I change when the moon is full for you? Delay the moon for a couple more days? Or do you want me to rearrange the schedules of the other 15 some odd people who are already planning to be there for the full moon that is tonight? Yeah. I'm sorry I can't help you. You're going to have to seek elsewhere. Click. That actually happened, and she was as Valley Girl as they come. I've never met a Muslim Valley Girl before. It was interesting. But anyway, don't be that lady. Don't be that girl. Don't demand that other people change their religion and their practices to meet your expectations or your needs. Be present to win. Try to arrive with an open heart and an open mind. Don't burn the witch. Don't be the asshole. Don't be the weak link. Fully participate to the extent in which you're comfortable. Yeah. I'm really glad that you appreciate all that. Jennifer has known a couple of those girls from New Jersey. I actually don't even know where this girl was from. But when she told me she was a Muslim, I was stunned. I have to say that in my stereotype matchmaking, those two things didn't go together. But I did find it kind of amusing because I grew up 3 years in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I grew up 3 years of my life. I lived 30 minutes away from Mecca. And I'm here to tell you that there is no way to have a witchcraft experience and also be in alignment with the Quran's views of those things at the same time. These things do not go together. Anyway, I wish her well. Namaste. Away at a safe distance. So that's where that term really actually came from, just to end on my shirt. I've long said that you can work really hard to try to engage the people honestly and respectfully in your community. People don't always get along. Just because you're in perfect love and trust with someone does not mean that you're in unconditional relationship. You don't have to like everyone. Not everyone has to be your new best friend. But you can choose to be at peace with them. I think when people start saying, oh, well, so-and-so is my enemy, I'm like, oh, God, really? So juvenile. I don't have enemies. I just, there's some people that I'm like, the spirit in me honors the spirit in you at a distance that I will define until such time that you can respect my boundaries in a way that is mutually beneficial. And until then, namaste away. I'm at peace with you at a safe distance. So anyway, those are my stories about the 4 rules of witchcraft. Those were there. I can't tell you how many people in our coven will actually include those in their vows when they jump the basin in their initiation, and they make their own personal, this, I'm going to set my compass by this ethical standard, and this is how I plan to engage in my craft in the world. They will actually cite those. So remember them, and when you read through the Wiccan Read, the long form, when you read through the Witch's Creed, actually I'm gonna read you guys the Witch's Creed. That's how we're gonna end this little video. Just think about them. This is, I'm gonna have to move this. In our tradition, the outer court classes that go for the year, this is only half of those lessons. This is the first half of our training program. This is Imulk through Letha. And then I've got another notebook for the other half. Alright, where's the Witch's Creed? Oh my gosh. I love this poem so much. I hope I haven't missed it. Oh, here we go. The Witch's Creed is a poem that is attributed to Doreen Valiente, who is my favorite witch grandmother of all time. So, this is what witchcraft's about to me. Hear now the words of the witches, the secrets we hid in the night, when dark was our destiny's pathway, that now we bring forth into light. Mysterious water and fire, the earth and wide-ranging air, by hidden quintessence we know them, and will and keep silent and dare. The birth and rebirth of all nature, the passing of winter and spring, we share with the life universal, rejoice in the magical ring. 4 times in the year the great Sabbath returns, and witches are seen at Lammas and Candlemas dancing, on May Eve and Old Halloween. When daytime and nighttime are equal, when the sun is at greatest and least, the 4 lesser Sabbaths are summoned, again witches gather in feast. 13 silver moons in a year are, 13 in the coven's array, 13 times at Esbat make merry, for each golden year and a day. The power was passed down the ages, each time before woman and man, between woman and man, each century unto the other, ere time and the ages began. When drawn is the magical circle, by sword or thame or power, its compass between the 2 worlds lie, in land of the shades for that hour. This world has no right then to know it, and world beyond will tell not. The oldest of gods are invoked there. The great work of magic is wrought. For 2 are the mystical pillars that stand 2 at the gate of the shrine, and 2 are the powers of nature, the forms and the forces divine. The dark and the light in succession, the opposites each unto each, shone forth as a god and a goddess. Of this did our ancestors teach. By night he's the wild wind's rider, the horned one, the lord of the shades. By day he's the king of the woodlands, the dweller in green forest glades. She is youthful or old as she pleases. She sails the torn clouds in her bark. The bright silver lady of midnight, the crone who weaves spells in the dark. The master and mistress of magic, they dwell in the deeps of the mind, immortal and ever renewing, with power to free or to bind. So drink the good wine to the old gods, and dance and make love all in praise, till Elfheim's fair land shall receive us in peace at the end of our days. And do what you will be the challenge, so be it in love that harms none. For this is the only commandment, by magic of old be it done. 8 words the witch's creed fulfill. If it harms none, do what ye will. Hail Doreen Valiente, ancestor of spirit. Well, y'all, this was fun. Thanks for the question. We'll be back again Sunday night. If anyone has anything they'd like me to demonstrate or answer or explore further, I am at your disposal. So yeah, meet me back here on Sunday night at 9 if you can. I appreciate donations made to orders at thesojo.com through PayPal. If you can't do that, or if you've already donated, don't worry, it's okay. We're all okay. It'll be okay. But thank you very much for those who have. If you do donate, I put your name on a piece of paper in my little fireside chat donation drawing box. I've got all kinds of goodies that on the last video I'll draw names to see who I'm going to send those goodies to. If you would like to come shopping, remember you can, well, you can't really come shopping, but you can let us know if you have an order, and we'll act like your personal shopper. You can call the store at 252-758-7656, Wednesday through Saturday, 12 to 6, and we will help put together an order you can pick up, or we can potentially even put it in a priority mailbox and send it to you. In the meantime, don't forget teespring.com. This is called Namaste Away COVID-19, and it's one of our fundraisers. We've also got one where the Sojourner logo is done in rainbows to show our inclusivity for everyone in our community. And all of those little bits help. So thank you so much, everyone. In the meantime, be well. Thank you for being here. Thanks for commenting. I'll go back and look and answer any questions I might have missed. So, namaste. Away at a safe and healthy distance. Until next time, peace.